1, 2, 3, 4, now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, but a person in dark blue. She knows Sunday, she knows summer. Now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, but a person in dark blue. She knows Sunday, she knows summer, uniform. Penny after dark, rock.
Hi, and welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight is a little bit of a different type of case. This was actually an audience recommendation, so shout out to James Watson. Thank you for this suggestion. And for those of you, again, you've already seen the title, so you know what I'm covering. This is the death of Brian Wells, also known as the pizza bomber case. So this is one where I feel a lot of people have seen the video footage of this bombing, but you might not necessarily know the case or the backstory behind it. And this was interesting because when I posted it on my Instagram account that I will be covering this case, it was interesting how many of you guys had messaged me saying that you not only knew the video footage or that you remember seeing the video footage when it was live and actually happening, which I found that very interesting, kind of as it was playing out, being witness to it on TV and kind of seeing everything unfold. And ultimately, you know, as the title says, it resulted in the death of Brian. But yeah, it was just very interesting to kind of have that back and forth dialogue before I even covered the case. So I'm really excited to discuss this case. And I knew a little bit about it. I remember seeing an episode about this case, oh my gosh, years ago, like definitely over 10 years ago. I believe it was on the Oxygen channel that they covered this case, but I hadn't looked back on it in so long. So I couldn't remember all those little details. So doing the research for this, I got to relearn them, if you will. And then while I was doing the research as well, there were so many kind of different theories people had about this case that I didn't even know existed. So I'm not going to talk about those in the beginning. I will talk about that at the end of the episode to kind of see if that's something you guys have heard of, or if that's maybe something that you guys think is a possibility and maybe the information being presented isn't fully accurate. So we'll see. But let's see who's here. James Watson. Nice. A simple hello would have been sufficient, but yes, this is the second case recommendation that you've done that I'm covering. So yeah, James, if you behave, see, good things can happen. Hey, Fiddle, good to see you, hun. Let's see. Hey, Tony Stewart, good to see you. K-Dog. Oh my, K-Dog. My God. I don't have to watch it. You don't have to watch anything you don't want to, hun. No, this was just something I watched there, God, so long ago. So I just wanted to reference where I had first heard about this case. So yeah, I'm very intrigued. So for those of you, besides James Watson, have you guys heard about this case? Or maybe if you don't know the case, do you know, based on the thumbnail that I used, do you know that footage? If you're like, gee, I don't know his name, I don't know the case, but I remember seeing that. That would be helpful for me to know as well, to see how much you guys either know or don't know about this. So I always find that interesting. And James Watson, where you're the one that suggested this, of course, if there's anything, if you have like a really good in-depth knowledge about this, if there's anything that you want to add to this into the chat as I'm covering the case, feel free to do so. So, all right, folks, let's just go ahead and dive on into this case. So again, we're covering the death of Brian Wells, known as the pizza bomber case. So on August 28th, 2003, pizza delivery man Brian Douglas Wells robbed the PNC Bank in Summit Town Center, which is just south of Erie, Pennsylvania. Upon being apprehended by police, Brian died when an explosive collar that was locked around his neck detonated. This unfolded live on the news. And I just want to emphasize this. This happened live. If you're so inclined, you can Google it. You can find it on YouTube. You can find the footage. I will not be playing it. That's not what I do here. I grabbed a thumbnail that was pre his murder. So, but again, if that's something you guys want to look up for yourselves, feel free. So, what else do we know about Brian? He worked for 10 years as a pizza delivery driver at the Mamma Mia's Pizzeria in Erie, Pennsylvania. Just after 1:30 p.m. on August 28, 2003, the pizzeria received a call from a payphone at a nearby gas station. The call was for someone to deliver 2 pizzas to 8631 Peach Street, an address that was a few miles away from the pizzeria. The address was the location of the transmitting tower of WSEE-TV at the end of a dirt road. Kind of an interesting place to have pizza delivered, but when I thought about it, to me, it kind of didn't seem all that strange once I kind of took a step back, because I'm thinking, there are people that do work out there, or, it could have been someone who, was hired by the company for the tower. So it didn't seem all that odd to me if it was just someone's lunch break and they just happened to be that area doing work. But as we will learn, as things unfold, in the end, it was quite a different type of delivery. So let's see. I'm just seeing where you guys are in the chat. No cats. No, Tony. So Tony, I was going to keep the door open, but they were wild tonight. They are wild. So I was like, no, they're going to knock over everything as I do the show. So no cats tonight. So tune in Friday and you'll see the cats. Fiddle saying, I haven't even heard of the network you saw it on, let alone the kids. That's right. I feel like I knew that. I feel like you guys Paul had said you guys in Canada don't get that channel, which is weird. Weird. K-Dog is saying, I remember it vividly. Lots of twists. Okay, that's good. You can do whatever you want, Tony. You do you, boo. All right. Hey, time traveler. Good to see you, hon. I hope you're doing good. All right. So again, they got that address for the delivery on the end of a dirt road. When Brian arrived for the pizza delivery, a bomb was placed around his neck. When he realized it was a real bomb, a pistol was fired in order to force his compliance. Brian was given a sophisticated homemade shotgun, which had the appearance of an instruction to claim that 3 black men had forced the bomb on him and were holding him as hostage. So a lot is going on for him here. He's showing up just to deliver, just doing his job. A bomb is placed on him, and then kind of realizing the severity of it, whoever placed this bomb on him shoots a gun to force him to comply. And now he's being given a shotgun. However, it's clearly not meant to take out the person doing this, and he has instructions on what he's supposed to do. So what followed next for Brian was a bank robbery that he was instructed. He was to, quote, quietly, end quote, enter the bank and give the teller a already pre-planned note demanding $250,000. And he had to use the shotgun to threaten anyone who did not cooperate or if they tried to attempt to flee away. This occurred around 2:30 p.m. What the note stated was that the bomb would explode in 15 minutes and that the full amount, again, the $250,000 being requested, must be handed over within that time. The teller, however, was unable to access the vault, and that quickly gave Brian just a little bit of money, but not the $250,000. So he left with $8,702. He took the money and he left the bank. At 2:38 p.m., a witness called 911 from the bank and reported a male leaving the bank with, quote, a bomb or something wrapped around his neck, end quote. Brian was now on his way to complete the next task that was being given to him. That, however, is when police saw him standing outside of his car. This was only 15 minutes later, so not a lot of time had passed. They arrested him, but let him sit on the ground in the parking lot. This is the footage where a lot of you probably have seen. So Brian stated that 3 unnamed Black people had placed a bomb around his neck, provided him with a shotgun, and told him they would kill him unless he committed the robbery and completed several other tasks. Again, this is what he's being told to say. The responding officers, they did not attempt to disarm the device. Instead, they focused on clearing the immediate area of the pedestrians. They tried to ensure that Brian could not detonate the bomb. So, police have a lot in their hands here. If you think about it, they don't know what's going on. They're taking, here's someone with a live bomb, and they're just taking his word at what's going on. They have to rule out, they can't rule anything out. Is he involved? Is he not? There's a lot at play here. So, before we continue on, again, Brian is being held outside. So he's being interviewed. He's being questioned. Where are you guys in the chat? Oh, now y'all talking about pizza. You guys are too funny. I knew since this was like mentioning food, you guys would be like going down that rabbit hole. Oh, you guys. All right. So the bomb squad was officially called at 3:04 p.m. At 3:18 p.m., 3 minutes before the bomb squad arrived, the bomb detonated. It blasted a fist-sized hole in Brian's chest. This killed him within seconds. Now police searched Brian's car. They found 9 pages of handwritten instructions addressed to, quote, bomb hostage, end quote. It directed him to rob the bank. It also had instructions, almost like a scavenger hunt, listing a series of strict timed tasks of collecting keys that would delay the detonation and eventually defuse the bomb. The pages warned Brian that he was under constant surveillance and any attempts to contact authorities would result in the bomb's detonation. On September 20th, 2003, William Rothstein, who lived near the television tower, called police to inform them that the body of James Roden was hidden in a freezer in a garage at his house. After William called police, he wrote a suicide note indicating his planned death and that it had nothing to do with Brian Wells. This is a bit of a jump in the case, right? We're abruptly going to somebody else who's now indicating in a suicide note that their death had nothing to do with Brian Wells. Because keep in mind, up until now, police hadn't solved the case. So now to hear this or see this in the suicide note about Brian Wells is very, very interesting. But who are these other people? William Rothstein, James Roden, who are they and how are they involved in this? Well, let's find out. But before we do, hey, Linda, good to see you. We are terrible talking about pizza and you know what? That's what the chat is for. Like, you guys do you. Listen to the case, chat with each other, this is just a nice, relaxing place to hang out. So do what you want. All good. Leave your DNA on the like button. I'm going to star that. I like that, Capone. That's awesome. Let's see. All right. You guys are caught up. Let me take that down. All right. You know what? No, Tony, it's not. It makes you guys have that special charm. So you are good. All right. Thank you. All right. So again, I kind of just threw a twist at you guys. I brought in these people who up until now we've never heard of, but now they have some type of connection to Brian Wells and his murder and hostage. So James Roden had been living with Marjorie Dell Armstrong for 10 years. Well, now who is Marjorie? In custody, William claimed that Marjorie had murdered her then boyfriend James with a 12-gauge shotgun during a dispute over money. William stated that Marjorie then paid him $2,000 to help hide the body and clean the crime scene at her house. All right, so not so good, but let's see where this continues and see how this is connected to Brian Wells. In January 2005, Marjorie pleaded guilty, but mentally ill, to third-degree murder and abuse of a corpse for killing James and was sentenced to between 7 and 20 years in prison. She is believed to have killed James to prevent him from informing authorities about the robbery plot. All right, so we're getting somewhere here. In April 2005, Marjorie had told a state trooper that she had information about the Brian Wells case, and after meeting with FBI agents, she said she would tell them everything she knew if she was transferred to the Muncie Correctional Institution to a minimum security prison in Cambridge Springs. Now, there was a series of interviews done, and Marjorie had a lot to say. She admitted to providing the kitchen timers that were used for the bomb on Brian Wells. However, she stated that William, he was the mastermind of the plot, and that Brian Wells has been directly involved in the plan. All right, now we're getting somewhere. However, is that a claim that are you accepting that? Are you believing her that Brian Wells was directly involved in this plan? Well, what investigators learned was that Marjorie was at Kenneth Barnes' home along with William Rothstein when they discussed ways that they could make money. Easy money, fast money. Marjorie suggested that Kenneth kill her father so she would receive an inheritance, and Kenneth told her he was willing to do this, but it would be for $250,000. Well, ultimately, the collar bomb bank robbery plot, say that 5 times fast, was then formed. And that was to obtain enough money to pay Kenneth to kill Marjorie's father. So it's full circle here. It is full circle. And let me repeat that because it's a lot. So the collar bomb bank robbery plot was formed as a way to obtain enough money to pay Kenneth to kill Marjorie's father. Again, think about it. Kenneth said he would kill Marjorie's father for $250,000. What was the amount that the bank robber in the bomb plot suggested that the bank give him, or demand that the bank give him? $250,000. There we go. So we have a few people coming in. Let's see. Hey, Kane, good to see you. Hope you're doing good. Let's see. Just checking where you are. $250,000. That's fiddle type of money. That is pennies to Fiddleford. Let's be honest. Fiddleford, yeah, he's living quite a Canadian prince life, dare I say. And I hope he's here listening and hears that. So, all right, now we have a whole layout here. So, on September 3rd, 2008, Kenneth, he pled guilty to conspiracy to rob a bank and to aiding and abetting. On December 3rd, 2008, Kenneth was sentenced, and he was sentenced to 45 years in prison by a federal judge for his role in the crime. His sentence, however, was later reduced to 22 and a half years after he testified against Marjorie. In July 2007, U.S. Attorney Mary Beth Buchanan announced Marjorie and Kenneth would be charged in the crime, with Marjorie as the mastermind of this. Well, William Rothstein, he died before he was able to be charged. Marjorie, she was sentenced in 2011 to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. June 20th, 2019, Kenneth Barnes, he died in prison. On April 4th, 2017, Marjorie died in prison. And that is where the case ends. So thank you for sticking around for this episode of Danny After Dark, covering the death of Brian Wells, also known as the Pizza Bomber case. And again, thank you to James Watson for this suggestion. Now, do you guys have any questions or comments on this case? While I kind of have you guys think of anything, or maybe after I've read this kind of rings a bell where you're like, you know what, maybe I remember this, or I remember seeing it on TV. That does, kind of ring a reminder. I mentioned at the beginning when I was doing research for this, and I don't remember this like years ago when I first was learning about the case, but then again, the internet's different now and you can just go down any rabbit hole you want online. There was a lot of people, and I was so surprised by this, that really do believe that Brian Wells was actually involved. Yes, we have Marjorie saying that. Other than that, that's all we have. And if you think about it, based on kind of everything laid out, I don't really believe that. It just doesn't jive. It doesn't jive for me. And the reason being, seems like the luck of being called. He was just at work, finishing up his shift, gets this one last call and goes out on it. He had nothing to gain by doing this. So to say he was involved, it makes no sense. He wasn't promised any money. He wasn't as far as we know, was not expecting any type of payout. So why go along with this plan for somebody else's benefit when you're not going to get anything out of it? That just doesn't make sense. What also doesn't make sense is, he ultimately lost his life for this. So I don't think it was planned, because I think if it was, he would have gotten further on the kind of scavenger hunt, as they called it, if you will. It just seemed way too sloppy. It seemed way too sloppy for somebody who would have kind of been in on it, if you will. So it didn't really get as far as I think it would have had he been actually involved in the planning. That's just my opinion, though. I don't think he was involved. But what do you guys think? Again, all we have, just a reminder, is Marjorie making that one comment that he was involved. But besides that, I couldn't find in the research. And again, if somebody here watching this, or even watching this after the fact, has any more information that you can post or comment on, by all means, please do. I couldn't find anything that said that they even knew each other. So that whole, he was involved in this planning, that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense even more. I couldn't find anything that they were family, friends, knew each other from the community. Nothing. I couldn't find anything. So this whole theory of, yes, he was involved, how? He didn't, there's no evidence that I found that he knew them. So I know I'm speaking kind of a bit on a tangent about this, but I was just very surprised when I was doing the research on this that he was being named as being involved in this, or by some people thinking that. Again, he's never been charged. The police have never said, yes, he was actually involved in this. Nothing of that has happened. But it was just interesting kind of to read people's thoughts about it online. So, yeah. All right. Let's see where you guys are. That's funny. Let's Fiddle chime in about, my neighbors are just lucky that I don't have an old bathtub with a transmission in it. Oh God, Fiddle. I've been talking about how awesome you are, Tony Stewart. That was the subject of tonight's episode. So go back and rewatch it so you can hear how awesome you are, that I just can't stop talking about. Linda, he was involved. I remember this case and I didn't ever. Yeah, right? Right. I'm glad you said that. I'm very glad you said that. So thank you for that. And okay, that's good that you knew this case that I was talking about. So you kind of came with a little bit of information to it. So Kane also, I remember this case. Capone, maybe he also wanted the father dead. But what, his own father? That is no connection to Marjorie and Kenneth. Linda's saying, I don't think he was. Kane's saying, I'm not sure. The father was stiffing him on tips for years. Oh, that doesn't indicate being, but sorry, I'm just like taken aback. So this doesn't, I don't see the connection. And by all means, I know typing in the chat isn't always like the best form of like rapidly getting information in there, but I don't see how him being involved with, Marjorie and Kenneth and, and ultimately James Rodden to do this, how that would impact Brian's dad. I didn't see that connection. But again, if I missed something, by all means, let me know. K-Dog is saying, when the police went to the final clue location, there were supposed to be keys to unlock the collar, but there were none. I don't think that Kenneth, Marjorie, and James, I don't think they ever were going to let Brian live from this. I think it was planned all along. I think that giving him the false hope that completing more would give him, more time, or kind of ultimately give him the false sense that he will be okay and survive this. I think that was the plan all along. I don't think he was ever going to survive this. I think they knew what they were doing. And ultimately, I hate to say this, but in a lot of cases, this is a true crime channel, right? So we see this all the time. People who are committing these offenses, they're not necessarily going to want the victim to be able to live to identify them. Think about it. The police for a little bit didn't make that connection. It wasn't until months later when, let me just get the exact date here so I have that for you guys. Okay, so on August 28th, 2003, and then all right, so September 20th, 2003. So just under a month. I think I was thinking all of August, all of September, but just under a month. And that's when the police got the break on that suicide note that it had nothing to do with Brian, which is very interesting. But before that, there was no connection. Capone saying, a K-Dog, what if the cops got the clue wrong? Interesting. I didn't think that. The jar was there, but it was empty. This is a true crime channel. James, what? Look at Kane is already saying, when's the next cat show? Oh my gosh, that's, for those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about or what Kane is talking about, go back a few episodes and check out the feline rescue volunteering special that I did along with my friend Liz. And yes, because that's what I do on, I am saying my free time, what free time? But yeah, I've been involved in animal rescue. So I did a little special on that, and we did it live from a cat cafe. So you can go back and see the adoptable cats and kittens from there. But yeah, that's funny you say that, because I did adoptions this past weekend. I was on the schedule and talking to one of the other volunteers who also is a board member. We were talking about how that went and like, when is it going on again? So yeah, we'll see. Those cats would love me with oh my God, I'm sure. So anyway, okay, I have a question then. So Capone and K-Dog, do you guys think that Brian Wells was involved in this or not? I'm curious. And you don't have to answer, or you could just say, not sure, whatever you want. But I'm just curious, because your questions are interesting, and they're pointing to just a different way of thinking that I have interpreted this case. So just curious. Speaking of girly co-hosts, where is Beckham? I don't know where Beckham is tonight. We know he's not subscribed to this channel, so I wouldn't expect him here. I don't know. I was just throwing some shit out there. Well, thank you for your honesty, Capone. No, I was genuinely curious if anybody who was watching this tonight, or if anybody who watches this back, later on after this airs, if they think that he was in fact involved in this. So, but do we know if Brian was suicidal? Nothing I read indicated that. Nothing I read pointed to any type of kind of struggling with any mental health. There was some report that, oh gosh, what was the exact? I don't have it in here. That he was on I forget what spectrum he was on, but it did say he was possibly had like a some type of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like not autism, but something where he just, something similar to that. I forget the exact wording, but that's still I couldn't find anything that definitively said, yes, he struggles with, autism or some type of, social disorder where he, or whatnot. I couldn't find anything definitive. So that's why I didn't put it in the notes, because I don't want to mislabel anybody who has not been officially labeled diagnosed by a doctor or physician. With that being said, then again, usually after the crimes are committed and someone is, kind of evaluated at that point, and, different theories or whatnot or diagnoses are put out there. Are they always accurate? I don't know. That can be argued sometimes. But for the sake of simplicity with this, I couldn't find anything that said he had some type of specific diagnosis, but there was a lot of hints about that. But definitely there was nothing that indicated he suffered from depression, mood disorder, suicidal ideations, or anything like that. There was nothing like that in the research that I could find. But that is a good question, because, because of the way the case played out, that's certainly something to kind of have in the back of your head. Could that have been a possibility? James, better watch out for Shelly. Shelly might take offense. I don't think he was. Okay, K-Dog, thank you. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Oh, gosh. Well, thank you, Capone. Thank you. So, all right, you guys. So, yeah, a little bit of a shorter case for you guys tonight. But again, I was Asperger's. Yeah, I couldn't find something that said, yes, he has this diagnosis. There was a lot that kind of referenced it, but again, where I didn't have a clear, definitive, yes, he was diagnosed with this, I didn't want to mention it in the notes, but I knew it would come up kind of like during this kind of after kind of casual chit chat. So, but thank you, Kane. All right, you guys, we're going to wind it down, but thank you for joining me for this episode, again, of Danny After Dark. Thank you, James Watson, for the suggestion, and a special thank you for kind of suggesting a case where it was one where I kind of knew, but it had been so long that I really had to deep dive. So it was kind of like I was relearning everything again. So I really liked that. And again, if you guys have any suggestions for any cases, please let me know. You can either email me, thedannyafterdark@gmail.com, shoot me a message on my Instagram account, or in the videos, that I leave up, by all means, put something in the comments and just say, hey, can you cover this? And I will add it to the list. As a general reminder, I don't do unsolved cases. So keep that in mind, because some of the cases that some of you guys do suggest are really, really good, but they're unsolved. And I'm like, oh, that's just not quite what I do, because I kind of like there to be a flow to the story and an ending. So, but anyways, always when in doubt, suggest a case and I will check it out. So everybody have a great rest of your week. I will see you later on in the week, Friday night, for the True Crime and Chill. Beckham will be there, and Liz will be joining. Because we got a lot to talk about with the Boston case. So she will be reporting that for all of us. All right, everybody, I will see you next time. And until next time, remember, We don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us. Bye, everyone.